Bill says, I'm 62 years old and I understand that recovery time increases as I get older. But my question is recovery trainable? Meaning, as my body does more structured training, does it get better at recovering from training stress? So to phrase it another way, if you're 1 year into cycling, are you better or are you not as good at recovering as you would be when you are 20 years into cycling? Super interesting question. Chad.
Yeah, it's a great question. So Bill, let me give you the short answer, which is basically yes, because the rate of recovery is just another area of physiologic adaptation that adapts. I mean, it's just like anything else. It's trainable. Basically, you're increasing your stress tolerance, right? And how quickly or how well you can rebound from stress. And just to put a simple example on it, just imagine when for TrainerRoad subscribers, you start Sweet Spot Base 1 and you have a 4x8 Sweet Spot workout to do, and you're off the couch. You know, you're pretty deconditioned and you have to do that workout. That same workout 10 weeks later, when you're well into that sweet spot phase and you do that same 4x8, but now you have an elevated FTP, even with that elevated FTP, you're going to bounce back faster because your body has increased its tolerance for stress. You've gotten better at it. So the same dose of stress that probably hampered you for a couple of days is probably the dose of stress you need on a daily basis just to stay where you are, or could tolerate on a daily basis and not slip. Point being, you do actually adapt, and there's even a term for it. It's called the repeated bout effect. So if you've read any scientific papers or just seen that term about, the idea is a workout puts you in a particular state of distress, you know, maybe muscle damage. The next time you do that workout, even if it's only a few days later, your body doesn't experience that same level of stress. That repeated bout is now accommodated better because your body has made some adjustments.
It's a super that's like one of the other motivations that we can have to be consistent with training. Like that's because that's one of the things that we talk about all the time. The fastest people are the people that perform the best, see the most improvements. They're consistent. And I'm sure all of us listening to this can reflect back to the times when we're most consistent. Amber had a professional career, lots of consistency within that. That's the sort of thing. There are plenty of things that improve, and it's cool to know that this is one of them, you know, that comes with that. It's fascinating.
Yeah, honestly, that might be the theme for today. I mean, there are a couple things that are going to overlap between questions, but consistency, it's not a hard get. I mean, we talk about it a lot because it is absolutely vital, but that might be our kind of overarching theme.
Nice.
Okay, so that's the short answer, Bill. Now I'm going to give you the long answer because I find this a really good opportunity to talk about masters athletes and more generally aging. And you know, having defended myself in terms of my New Year's resolutions, now I am in the style of, or as a compliment to our judiciary system, I'm going to approach this in much the same way. I'm going to argue for, not really in support, or I don't know. I feel like aging has been prosecuted and persecuted. And I'm not exactly going to argue in favor of aging and say that it's not guilty of some of the things for which it's been accused, but I am going to say there are other things to consider. So maybe I'm trying to establish a reasonable doubt. So simply, I don't want to pin it all on aging. I don't want to reduce it to you get older and you're going to get slower and you're going to take longer to recover. A lot of that may be true, but I don't want us to just pin it on aging. There are other factors at play here. So what we know, and I use that in inverted quotations because there's only a reasonable consensus, we don't really ever know anything, is that performance declines actually become evident at about 50 years of age. This is pretty easy to back up because we have many, many results, high-level athletes, low-level athletes that we can look at and say, there is a tipping point. There is a very visible tipping point. And that's for now. That tipping point may shift up a handful of years over time. We'll see. Recovery appears to take longer in athletes beyond the age of about 35, 40 years of age. Excuse me. So this again is observable. We can at least see it happening. And then finally, recovery is multifactorial. And yes, age is a factor. And in no way am I refuting or challenging this possibility. Okay. Rather, I'm arguing for the defense here. I'm just trying to say aging isn't the only culprit. Okay, so in line with that goal, here's what else I think we need to at least consider. So a number of studies here, first of which James fell back in 2008. As usual, all studies are linked if you want to dig deeper. The perception, James and colleagues looked at the perception of fatigue, and they compared young athletes, which were right around 24 years of age, Two veteran athletes which were right around 35 years of age. These were termed well-trained cyclists in that they rode 200 kilometers per week for a minimum of 6 months. And they were exposed to 3 30-minute time trials over the course of 3 days. So TT on each day, all out efforts from what I gather. And so both groups showed similar physiological responses. There was no decrease in performance, no decrease in the physical fatigue or recovery measures, no decrease in these markers, et cetera. The only difference was the perception. So perception in the brain of muscle soreness. The veteran athletes reported more soreness, greater fatigue, lower quality of recovery, but their performance didn't reflect this. Their performance didn't decline. So my takeaway on this one is that there was no physiological or functional fatigue. Fatigue was only evident subjectively, right? It varied either way. It was specific to the athlete. And I think that this suggests, well, actually the scientists think that this suggests that neural fatigue and recovery from that neural fatigue may at times be the true culprit. So we're not talking about bodily fatigue, actual muscular fatigue. Rather, this is in the brain, which doesn't just mean you can think your way past it. That's not at all the implication here. This also suggests that muscle damage and the rate of recovery from it may not be the only culprit.
That's so cool. I was just going to say, I mean, so on the one hand, you can think of it like, I mean, it's not just in your head, because central nervous system fatigue and neural fatigue is very real. So this isn't just saying like, oh, you're making it up and it's not real. It is real. That fatigue is real. But what's kind of comforting about that is to know that it's not necessarily actually affecting your performance in terms of, say, power output. So that's kind of cool. Like you might feel like you're not as on your game as you used to be, but you might actually be.
Yeah. And what might that knowledge do for this central restriction? I mean, just knowing that it is quote unquote in my head, but I've seen that my body can do it. Does that kind of pay itself back to the, I mean, does it let you off the leash a little bit mentally? I don't know.
Yeah. Those are super
interesting nonetheless.
Super interesting points, right? Because Amber, I bet that, so I know that we're taking this away from aging a little bit in this example. So forgive me, Chad, but I'll try to steer it back to it. But
it's okay.
I'm thinking of like whether it was a triple T or a key day where like you really had to perform, whether that was for a rider or something else, Amber, when you were in like, you know, grand tours and long races, you probably, that sort of fatigue was huge, especially when you're talking like central nervous system fatigue, when you're a domestique having to like watch out for a team and accomplish a goal. Like, that's just got it. You have to be truly fried at that point. Like at the end of that race, it's got to be so rough. But you still manage to perform because that's the job that needs to get done. Like, right. So that does bring up like kind of like the coping mechanisms or how we get through, because all of us have days like Thursdays. For me, I don't know if it's this way for everybody else, but my workout quality suffers substantially on Thursdays. And I think it's because of, you know, neural fatigue. Like it's the podcast and comprehending what Chad is thinking, what Alex is thinking, what Amber's thinking, where we need to push the conversation, what Chad has next on his notes, then all the different perspectives that are listening to the podcast at the same time. Like my little dual core CPU up here is frying, like, you know, so like, and then that makes workouts really hard. So this is really interesting. And this has broad application to everybody, not only because all of us, yes, are aging, but all of us experience this sort of like neural fatigue. And that does affect our performance. We shouldn't tell ourselves, well, you should just think through it because it's in your head. But we can remind ourselves that our body actually still can be capable of doing these things. It's if we can somehow align the body and mind to that same purpose and make things happen. It's super fascinating.
Exactly. And I think this, sorry, Chad, we'll steer back to your track in just a sec. I just want to.
I got nothing but time. Go ahead.
Everyone's worrying now. They're like, oh no, is this going to be a 2.5 hour podcast? No.
Yeah.
This is a super interesting point, which is RPE does not equal performance, right? We tend to think that if something elicits a higher RPE, it's going to diminish our performance, but that's not necessarily true. And that's important to keep in mind. Like you were saying, you know, in the stage races, in those later stages, the accumulation of both the cognitive load, the emotional load, the physical load, it starts to take a toll. So the RPE goes up through the week. It doesn't mean that I'm any less physically capable of doing my job or putting out enough power to execute race strategy, whatever it might be, but it might feel different. But that doesn't necessarily mean a detrimental performance outcome, which are two different things. And the other analogy I'll bring into this too is, on my, with menstrual cycle changes. So the week before, for a lot of women, the week before their period, for me, it was just the couple days right before my period, I would have just RPE through the roof. But it didn't mean that I wasn't capable of doing the workout and I wasn't capable of executing in a race. So it wasn't something that affected the performance outcome, but it really affected how I felt in the moment in the RPE. So I think it's really important to remember that those two things aren't the same thing. And if you get into a workout or you get into a race on a day and you feel horrible, it doesn't mean, it's not a sentence to a poor performance, right? Mm-hmm. You still might be able to pull out an amazing performance even if you don't feel good.
Mm. I'm a Labrador and you just threw a tennis ball. I can't help it. With this, Chad, this brings up a good point, and I want to kind of run this. So we get this question a lot by people, and to be clear, it's always better, I think, if your RPE is lower at a given power, right? I think we all can agree on that. It's always better to have a lower RPE at a given power. That's the dream, like to have low RPE and just be sailing through. Those are those chainless days that we talk about when you just feel like you can do, you're on top of the world. But with that, and considering the fact that the context of a race usually brings with it higher RPE in many cases, or kind of these like high stress race environments will bring on higher RPE. A lot of people have asked the question, and we have answered it before, but should I intentionally try to raise my RPE, like increase cognitive load during workouts, that sort of a thing, so that I'm used to it? And I personally haven't found that that's beneficial at all for me. Like it doesn't make it so that then my RPE outside of those sessions is lower. But maybe it has had some sort of contributing effect to making me feel like I'm used to it. Is that any of the motive, Chad, behind what you do when you are reading studies, when you're training, doing all that stuff, or you're just trying to get those things done because you want to get them done?
Yeah, that's just a pleasant side effect of what I'm already doing. So, and I find that I won't put it in terms of RPE because it doesn't change my RPE. The workout still hurts like it's going to hurt. I just find I get through the intervals a little faster because I'm distracted. And it does, yes, increase my cognitive load. So maybe that carries to when I'm out on the out in a race, in circumstances where information is flying at me from all directions, and I'm better at compartmentalizing those things that don't matter and focusing on the things that do. I won't ignore that is a strong possibility that is, again, a pleasant side effect of what I'm doing, but my intention is really just to distract myself from discomfort or pass the time when the rides are boringly easy.
Sure. Yeah, makes sense. And there's also, like, I've thought about this with the rollers, because the rollers are definitely increased cognitive load, and I do all my rollers or all my training rides on them. But I haven't felt like now I get outside and it's just like carefree, like I don't have any stress, like I don't feel that at all,
Gravity still applies.
Yeah, indeed it does. So yeah, maybe there's something to that, and I don't know. Maybe like a rider like Alex that's used to riding mountain bikes and everything else would get into a road environment and feel less stressed than another person. But number one, it's really hard to measure that. And then number two, yeah, Alex is shaking his head. It's like, no, road race would be scary.
I just watch out for flying bottles.
Yeah, exactly. But I just, I'm sure that question will come up. A person will be asking, oh, okay, so should I intentionally try to stress the mind, so to speak, so then I can get used to this? And it would be really tough to measure any sort of outcome and performance improvement as a result of doing that in that regard. But just the same, super interesting concept there, and really interesting study from James Fell of showing the fact that even though they were mentally tired, they could still physically do it. So super interesting. Chad, there are other studies you have.
Yeah, I do. So back on track with, we're still talking about aging here, and really the comparison between young and older athletes or masters athletes. A 2015 by During they compared young and masters triathletes. And this one was especially interesting because they looked at nutrition practice. So the young athletes were defined as athletes being under or at 30 years of age. Masters athletes were 50 or older. These athletes in particular rode for roughly 16 hours per week trained. So in all three disciplines, their time amounted to about 16 hours, thereabouts. 182 of these athletes were surveyed or completed the survey that was provided by Triathlon Australia. And the intent of that survey was to determine their knowledge of post-exercise nutrition and specifically the recommendations. I'm not sure what Australia's governing body is, but it would be the equivalent to the FDA's recommendations here in the States. What they found was that most of them lack a good understanding of post-workout nutrition when it comes to carbohydrate and protein. Those are the two macros that they looked at. And specifically those guidelines. What are the guidelines? Not too many people answered correctly or answered at all, really. I'll get to that. They did provide them with little drop-down menus. So it wasn't just like they posed that question and hope for the best. They gave them little drop-downs where they could tick up the carbohydrate intake by 0.1 and tick the protein by 5 grams. And what the replies were basically 25% were correct. Roughly 25% were correct on the carbohydrate recommendations. 20% were correct on the protein recommendations, and a little over 40%, it was like 42 and 43 carbohydrate, protein respectively, simply answered, don't know. Didn't even want to take a stab. They recognized the pointlessness of that, just admitted they didn't know. And that's in and of itself is interesting. But what's especially interesting and relevant to the conversation here regarding masters athletes and aging is that the masters athletes fell well short of the recommended protein recommendations and short of the carbohydrate recommendations. And for what it's worth, the protein recommendations are 20 grams. The carbohydrate is 1 to 1.2 grams per kilogram. And what's more is relative to their body mass, the masters athletes actually ate less protein and carbohydrate than the younger athletes. So the athletes who arguably need it more were consuming less. And what does this mean? But they consumed significantly less energy post-exercise. So they were blowing their workout recovery, at least as far as nutrition goes. So my takeaway is that if nutrition is insufficient, we can't tidily pin all of this on age.
Yeah, I'm interested in this because we're always talking about nutrition here. And we recently did a deep dive on this. And I think this is super interesting because one of the things that we talked about is how carbohydrate intake can preserve lean mass. So a lot of the research suggests that taking in carbohydrate, especially post-exercise, can reduce muscle protein breakdown, we're just preserving the mass that's there. But carbohydrate cannot trigger, or research suggests it can't trigger muscle protein synthesis. And you have to take in protein to trigger that muscle protein synthesis, which is building the lean mass. And I haven't read any studies on this specifically, but it makes me want to pose that question. I think that would be a really interesting thing to investigate, is whether this might be more important with age, where there is also evidence that suggests that building and maintaining lean mass as we age gets increasingly difficult with age. So this might be a really, really important factor where, who knew nutrition would have such a big impact?
Yeah, who knew? And you're actually setting me up super well for for a follow-up study by During and colleagues just the very next year, where they looked at higher than recommended post-exercise protein feedings. And in particular, they looked at exercise-induced muscle and damage after downhill runs. So they would actually subject athletes to something that would damage the muscle and then kind of observe the recovery process. Excuse me. And they divided their subjects into a high and a medium protein group. The high group would get, or actually let's start with the mid group, that they would get pretty much standard 0.3 grams per kilogram of body weight, whereas the high group would get 0.6. And for context, me as a roughly 85-pound athlete, that would be about 25 grams per serving.
85 kilo athlete?
Yeah. That's a pound.
Yeah, it's like kilo. Chad's been climbing.
My threshold might actually mean something these days if I weigh that much. So 85 kilogram athlete, me, that's about 25 grams per serving. But in the high group, that would be 50 grams because they doubled it. And they did this 3 times separated by 2 hours. So it's 3 different protein boluses over the course of these, 4 hours, 4 hours. Totaling, double the protein. And then what they noticed was that the high group reduced their perceived fatigue over that 8-hour recovery. So now we're back to perception again, right? And I don't doubt that there's something going on behind the scenes, something physiologically also, but their perception changed, which is especially interesting. So my takeaway for this one really is just that, again, why not correct something that's easily controllable first? Rather than pin it on aging, something that we can't really do anything about, we can't do anything about it. Why not say, maybe it's nutritional because I can fix that, or I can at least work toward improving it and see if it has an impact.
Alex, you had something that I think you wanted to say a little bit earlier. Is it still applicable?
I just wanted to see if maybe clarifying this helps other people. This is the first time I've seen the carbohydrate recommendation post-exercise in terms of body weight. I feel like we always talk about ratios. So it was interesting that the study before was showing the carbohydrate in 1 to 1.2 per kilogram, because theoretically, right, if the 20 grams of protein stays the same, the ratio would fluctuate based on your weight. So I was curious to see it in that form.
Yeah. Something else that comes to mind with this too is a lot of the athletes I know, and I'm 33 years old, so not a master's athlete yet. The athletes that I race with and that I know that are master's athletes, and I'm sure a lot of us can recognize this, a common thing you hear is, yeah, my metabolism's slowing down as I get older. And I see, and whether or not that's true or not, and it's individually variable, but the one thing that is interesting with this is that I see, habitually speaking, on a generalized scale, older athletes eating less than younger athletes. And I can't help but think that this is probably contributing to a lot of the facts that you're talking about, is just whether the social pressure or the dogma that exists that we all seem to buy into, that I just need to eat less because I'm getting older. And that's not, like, if anything, like you said, Amber, we should probably be doubling down on quality and focusing on that as we get older, because of the importance, that becomes ever more important for us. So I wonder how much that has to play into this, where that's just guiding people's decision making almost subconsciously. And as a result, they're not fueling themselves.
Yeah. And just consider that takes place over years of habituation, because we always walk that really difficult balance between being as light as we can be and as powerful as we can be. And nourishment is such a governing force in that balancing act. So, feed yourself enough that you can do everything and recover from everything, but don't feed yourself so much that you actually add weight. And in a lot of cases, feed yourself just a little under that amount so that you can lose a little bit of that excess weight that you don't want. It's such a struggle.
It's hard.
Right.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, there's stories like we had an episode with Ben Jacquemain, who was talking about actually being several pounds heavier. He ended up, his power output went up too, to the point where he was able to climb as effectively as he had been climbing even a lighter weight. But he found that his, you guessed it, ability to recover after a climb and repeat within a single race or workout improved significantly, which, I think that, so in some cases it might not be it really depends on the individual, of course, because for some people they're going to benefit from some weight loss if there is excess. And then for some people it might be the opposite. You actually benefit from racing and performing at a higher weight than you thought might be your ideal weight. And it takes some experimentation with that, but yeah, it's definitely possible in both directions.
Where this all starts to break for athletes, and I think that we all have to watch out for this, is when you don't have a consistent input in terms of training, then having a consistent input in terms of like a high volume of food to be able to fuel consistent training. If your training isn't consistent, then you will see excessive weight gain. You won't see the increase in performance because your training isn't there. And that's something that you really have to watch for. Like, are the conclusions that you're pulling truly coming from a well-balanced equation of consistent training input, consistent nutritional input, or is one of those faltering? Are you not hitting all of your workouts like you should? Are you not doing them consistently? Because I know for me, if my training isn't consistent, then it's hard for me to actually pull out anything with certainty in terms of takeaways of what's happening to my body. That's one of the great things, and one of the reasons why we always suggest that people follow something that gives them a little bit of wiggle room, like a low volume plan or a mid volume plan if you'd rather do a higher one, because life can throw you in different directions, but you still have some wiggle room to be able to hit your marks with consistency. There's just a lot of value in that. So if you're an aging athlete that's listening to this and thinking, yeah, okay, I tried feeding before, like, fueling my workouts and doing everything like I should, and I just gained weight. Well, think critically about the training that you were actually doing at that time. Was it truly consistent? Were you missing? That really is a key part to this before you make any takeaways. Amber.
So my husband is in academia, and he just sent me a really, really interesting article. It's an older study, but the title of it is the mundanity mundanity or mundaneness. I can't remember the word of excellence. And the point of the article and the conclusion of it is that the highest performers that we kind of put on this pedestal as being world-class and head and shoulders above the rest, what sets them apart is not necessarily talent or genetics. It's their ability to do the really boring, mundane, unsexy things with incredible consistency. That's it. Like,
Alex,
it's not glamorous.
Don't take this wrong, Alex, but that's you in my mind right there. Like your life is measuring food
You just
and doing your
Alex
workouts. Yeah, exactly. Very boring. No, but you weigh your food, you do your workouts, you recover, and you work, and it's that, and it's repeated, and like, so I mean, you're an example of that to me. I don't know. So thank you for sharing your example.
I think it's just doing the little things right. It's probably my favorite quote for that. It's like, I think there's like the sexy things, right? You know, like being able to hit that interval workout, but it's like, it's also going out on that recovery day and knowing like the focus of today is just a nice, easy 1 hour spin, and doing those things right as well. Make it so you can do those interval days. And going back to the metabolism thing, like efficiency is in such a tight range from human to human that doing a workout at 25 versus 55, if it's the same power, you're going to burn the same amount of kJs. So I struggle with that metabolism drop off if you still have that training stimulus in your life, because it's probably such a small difference that you should really be focusing on the work portion of it, which is the same regardless of your age. If the power output's the same, you're still burning the same amount of fuel. So you still need to fuel with the same amount of fuel.
Awesome insight. Yeah, absolutely. Great point. Chad, there are also some more observations that you have from some of the studies.
Yeah. So let's check back with James Fell again, because in 2008, he did a review. It wasn't, I don't think it was a systematic review. I don't know if there was enough studies for it to necessitate that. But anyway, this study in particular, again, it's linked. This is one for anyone who's interested in this topic. Read this one, because there are so many interesting findings. And I only pulled out a couple that I found, relevant to this conversation, but also just plain interesting. So amongst, excuse me, the many observations that he makes is one is that within studies, physical activity level of the study participants is rarely considered. And again, this is 2008. So a lot of this has probably improved, but I don't think it's changed completely. There's just no way. So studies often use what's termed as sedentary or recreationally active subjects. So never mind training status, because we're not even talking about athletes at this point. So when we draw inferences from findings with sedentary or recreationally active people, that doesn't necessarily translate to more active people or athletic people. With that said, there are studies that include very active subjects. That's a common term. The terminology dances all over the place, but they'll also provide statistics which will help you figure out just where those people lie on the spectrum. But they found that with very active subjects, they find similar levels of muscle damage and similar rates of recovery. And what's so interesting about this is we're not talking about the comparison between 20 and 30-year-olds or 30 and 40-year-olds. We're looking at the differences between 20-year-olds and 60-year-olds. They're usually big gaps. I saw one study where it talked about women training in their 60s to late 60s, so pushing 70, where they would have similar recovery patterns after resistance training as 20-year-olds, because they came into the study very active. So, they didn't pull these people off the couch, or I don't know how they go about recruiting them typically, but
you on the couch.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to love this. Yeah. So the couple takeaways here. One is that studies need to use relevant subjects and cohorts. And again, I fully believe this is improved. I just don't think it's across the board, and it needs to be. The findings aren't as relevant otherwise. And another takeaway is that this makes it, again, hard to blame age alone. The studies aren't perfect. So again, the learnings we try to take from them, well, got to consider all the factors.
This is super insightful, hopefully, for everybody listening to this, regardless of age, on all the stuff that you've brought up. Chad, are there, so yeah, you have even more stuff.
Yeah. So with this same review by James Fell and colleagues, he also points out that the literature, and we've kind of touched on this already, is rife with inconsistent findings. So they'll have different training levels, different severity of damage from the experimental exercise bout that they use to inflict whatever, exercise-induced muscle damage. There are differences in gender. There are differences in exercise protocols. There are differences in time between repeated exercise bouts. And again, I mean, this is the challenge that researchers face. I'm not trying to pick on anybody. Rather, I'm just trying to recognize that it's really hard to take a set of studies and draw findings from a set of vastly divergent, in some cases, studies. Another takeaway is that you need to take the literature with a grain of salt and appreciate each study's limitations. And this comes with something we'll talk about later, which is interpreting literature. Okay, so just a couple more here, but again, relevant to this whole idea that aging is the only baddie in the mix here. So 2019, so we're much more recent now. Yassar and colleagues looked at both young and older athletes and their recovery from peak power output after a single sprint intensity session. And this took place across the board, both in young and older, after 3 days. What's interesting here is that this doesn't really stand up when it comes to high intensity training. So the difference between doing short all out sprints versus longer repeated VO2 max efforts, something gets lost in translation. The recovery effects are different. And my takeaway because of that is that even differences in high intensity workouts can blur those lines of recovery between older and younger athletes. You change one thing, take it down from a sprint intensity down to a VO2 max intensity, which isn't a huge change. And it changes the recovery time course and characteristics of that recovery process. And then Baumart 2015, another wrench in the gears here, suggests genetic components and therefore an individual response to exercise-induced muscle damage, which means that regardless of age, and we've seen this, some athletes bounce back faster. So there is a genetic component at work here.
Which makes me wonder too, when you talk about genetic components, especially, after some period of time in life, gene expression, right? So what were the patterns of gene expression in the person's life leading up to this point? Totally. I mean, some of this might be more plastic than we think. So just remember that when we talk about genetic components, it doesn't mean that, this was fixed from birth and you can't do anything about it. Because a lot of times these genes are actually plastic, and what you do in your life, what you experience in your life can affect when and how these and if these genes are expressed, and that can determine, kind of genetic basis for some of these things too. So it's an interesting facet to consider on that.
Yeah, which ties back to the original premise of kind of what we're approaching here is, if you train more, does that change over time? And that could very well be a large or a significant portion of it. So interesting. Okay.
And finally, I'll close this out with just another possibility to consider is that we've seen recently, and probably more than recently, but recent to me, differences in fiber composition can actually yield different recovery timelines. So in general, fast twitch fibers have been demonstrated to take longer to recover than slow twitch fibers. And it makes sense on a number of levels. The study that I looked at in particular, linked as well, is they looked at the recovery of torque at max voluntary contraction. So as hard as you can push it, voluntarily, you're not being forced into this, just drive on, whatever. It was probably an ergometer or something, I can't remember. But the max voluntary contraction was fully recovered in the athletes who were predominantly slow twitch. And I think it was like a 60-40 split. After 20 minutes, they could go again and they could muster the same strength of contraction. Whereas 5 hours later, the athletes who were predominantly higher in the fast twitch fibers still hadn't recovered. I mean, that's a difference of 15 times? That's an enormous difference just because their fiber composition is slightly different from that of the people they were compared to.
Poor little fast twitch fibers.
Yeah. So I rest my case there. I think I hope I've at least established a reasonable doubt. We can't pin all this on age. We can't simply say age is why.
Interesting.
I really wish we could have punctuated that with like the Law and Order.
Yeah. I was going to say we need a gavel.
That happened in post.
Yeah.
If you like this video, make sure you give us a thumbs up.
If you didn't like this video, you can give it a thumbs down, but let us know what you would have done differently in the comments below.
If you want to see more of these videos, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you want to become a faster cyclist, check out TrainerRoad.com.
Do it.
If you think I have better hair than Jonathan, give it a thumbs up. If not, leave a comment.
My hair is better than his.